3 weeks ago, a woman named Maria walked into a small synagogue in Brooklyn with $40 in her bank account and an eviction notice in her purse. She wasn't Jewish, she wasn't religious, she was desperate. The rabbi looked at her for a long moment and said something that would change everything. "Your right pocket," he told her, "is the gate of giving. When you activate it with the 3 sacred objects of prosperity, money stops running from you and starts chasing you." Maria thought he was crazy, but she had nothing left to lose. Within 3 days, her estranged sister called out of nowhere and paid back $800 she'd borrowed 2 years ago. Within 7 days, an old client reached out with a $1,200 project. Within 12 days, a tax refund she wasn't expecting arrived early, $2,100. By day 40, Maria had received over $11,000 in unexpected income. Not from magic, not from luck, from activating an ancient Kabbalistic principle that's been hidden in plain sight for over 3,000 years. Today, I'm going to reveal to you the exact 3 Hebrew objects Maria put in her right pocket, why they work according to both Kabbalah and modern neuroscience, and how you can start this 40-day prosperity ritual tonight, even if you've never studied Jewish mysticism in your life. But here's what most people don't know, and what I need you to understand before we go any further. Your body is not just flesh and bone. In Kabbalah, the human body is taught to be a living temple with energy gates, and your right pocket sits directly over what mystics call the gate of Chesed, the gate of giving, action, and outward flow. When you place prosperity symbols in that exact location, you're not just carrying trinkets. You're turning your body into an antenna for abundance frequency. Before we dive into the 3 objects, I need you to do something right now. Type in the comments, "My right pocket is my prosperity gate." Don't skip this. In Kabbalah, spoken intention activates spiritual reality. When you declare it, you align your consciousness with the teaching. This is not passive learning. This is active transformation. Go ahead, type it now. I'll wait. And listen, if you're someone who's serious about understanding the deeper principles behind Jewish prosperity, not just this pocket ritual, but the entire framework of how wealth flows according to ancient wisdom, I've compiled 15 of the most powerful Jewish wealth codes into a comprehensive guide. It's called 15 Jewish Wealth Codes, Enrichment Strategies of the Jewish People, and it goes far beyond what we can cover in one video. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment below. I encourage you to check it out after this video, because what you're learning today is just one piece of a much larger system. But for now, let's stay focused on these 3 objects. Good. Now, if you've never heard of this teaching, you're not alone. Most Jews don't even know this. Why? Because for centuries, these prosperity rituals were taught only within closed circles of Kabbalists, rabbis, and mystics, who understood that the physical world is a mirror of spiritual laws. The Torah teaches that we live in a universe of correspondence. As above, so below. What you carry on your body affects your energy field. What you place in your pockets creates magnetic pull. And your right side, specifically, governs your capacity to give, act, and manifest. Let me explain this more deeply, because if you don't understand why this works, you'll treat it like superstition, and superstition has no power. Kabbalah teaches that the human body has 2 primary energy gates. Your left side is the gate of receiving. It draws in blessings, wisdom, protection. Your right side is the gate of giving. It pushes out action, generosity, and manifestation energy. This is why Jewish tradition places the mezuzah on the right side of the door. It's why the right hand is used for blessings. It's why when you wear a kippah or a talit, the fringes on the right side are considered more potent for prayer. Now here's where it gets fascinating. Modern neuroscience has discovered that the right hemisphere of the brain governs creativity, intuition, and holistic thinking, while the left hemisphere governs logic, analysis, and detail. Your right pocket, positioned over the right side of your body, becomes a physical anchor for activating that intuitive, creative, manifesting energy. When you place specific objects there, objects that carry symbolic weight, historical resonance, and energetic intention, you create what psychologists call a priming effect. You're constantly reminding your subconscious mind, I am a person who attracts prosperity. I'm aligned with abundance. I am open to receiving. But it's not just psychology, it's spiritual physics. In Kabbalah, everything in creation carries a spark of divine light, and certain objects carry stronger sparks because of their history, their symbolism, and their connection to sacred principles. The 3 objects I'm about to reveal to you were not chosen randomly. They were encoded into Jewish mystical practice over millennia because they represent the 3 pillars of prosperity: circulation, purification, and divine identity. So let's talk about the first object. And I want you to pay close attention because this is where most people make their first mistake. The first object you must place in your right pocket is 7 coins. Not 6, not 8, 7. And here's why that number is non-negotiable. In the Hebrew tradition, the number 7 is the number of divine completion. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. establishing Shabbat as the day of wholeness, peace, and blessing. 7 appears everywhere in Jewish practice. 7 blessings at a wedding, 7 circuits around the bride and groom, 7 days of mourning, 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot, the 7-branched menorah. 7 represents the full cycle of spiritual energy moving from potential into manifestation. When you carry 7 coins, you are embodying that cycle. You're telling the universe, I honor the rhythm of creation. I understand that prosperity is not static. It flows, it cycles, it returns. In Kabbalah, this is called the principle of Shefa, which means divine abundance flowing from the infinite into the finite world. Coins are the physical representation of that flow. They pass from hand to hand. They circulate. And when you carry 7 of them in your right pocket, you're declaring yourself a participant in that circulation. Not a hoarder, not a blocker, but a channel. Now, let me tell you about James. James was a graphic designer in Toronto who'd been stuck at the same income level for 5 years. He worked hard. He was talented. But money would come in and immediately go out. Rent, bills, groceries, unexpected expenses. He never had margin. Never had breathing room. He heard about this ritual from a Jewish friend and decided to try it, even though he wasn't sure he believed in it. James took 7 quarters, 25 cents each, and wrapped them in a small piece of blue cloth. Blue, in Jewish tradition, represents the heavens, divine mercy, and the flow of blessing. He placed the wrapped coins in his right pocket on a Thursday night, which is the night associated with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and prosperity in Kabbalistic astrology. Within 2 weeks, James received an email from a former client he hadn't heard from in 3 years, offering him a contract worth $15,000. Within 30 days, 2 more clients reached out. By day 40, his income had increased by 42%. James didn't win the lottery. He didn't stumble into inheritance. What changed was his energetic posture. He went from feeling like someone money avoided to someone money sought out. And it started with 7 coins in his right pocket. But here's the key. The coins must be quarters, or whatever your local equivalent is, because the number 25 carries its own resonance. In Hebrew numerology, called gematria, numbers have meanings. 25 reduces to 7, 2 plus 5 equals 7, reinforcing the principle of completion. Quarters are also practical. They're small enough to carry, common enough to acquire, and valuable enough to feel significant. You're not carrying pennies, which signal scarcity. You're carrying quarters, which signal value. Now, some of you are thinking, but I don't live in a country that uses quarters. That's fine. Use the equivalent. 7 coins of a mid-range denomination. In Europe, use 1 euro coins. In the UK, use pound coins. In Brazil, use 1 real coins. The principle is the same. 7 coins, wrapped in blue cloth, placed in your right pocket. And here's something most people don't know. The coins must remain in your pocket for the full 40 days without being spent. Why 40 days? Because in Jewish tradition, 40 is the number of transformation. Moses spent 40 days on Mount Sinai. The Israelites wandered 40 years in the desert. Rain fell for 40 days during the flood. 40 is the gestation period for spiritual rebirth. When you commit to carrying these coins for 40 days, you're giving the energy time to take root, to rewire your subconscious, to shift your frequency from scarcity to abundance. At the end of the 40 days, you don't keep the coins, you give them away. This is critical. You donate them to charity, to someone in need, or you use them to buy something small for a stranger. Why? Because in Jewish teaching, the word for charity is tzedakah, which doesn't mean charity. It means justice, righteousness, the act of restoring balance. When you give those coins away, you complete the circuit. You're saying to the universe, I received, and now I give. I'm not a dead end. I'm a channel. And the universe responds by sending you more. This is not theory. This is tested, ancient, encoded wisdom. And if you're still skeptical, I want you to try it. Not because I need you to believe me, but because your bank account needs you to take action. Type in the comments, I'm a channel for abundance. And let's move to the second object, because this one is even more powerful and even more misunderstood. The second object you place in your right pocket is 7 grains of Dead Sea salt, not regular table salt, not Himalayan pink salt, Dead Sea salt. And I'm going to explain exactly why this distinction matters, because if you use the wrong salt, you're missing half the power. Salt, in Jewish tradition, is one of the most sacred substances on earth. In the Torah, every sacrifice offered in the temple had to include salt, because salt represents the eternal covenant between God and Israel. Salt preserves, salt purifies, salt protects. In the Talmud, it's written that a table without salt is like an altar without blessing. When you sit down to eat bread, Jewish custom is to dip it in salt first, echoing the temple offerings and anchoring your meal in sanctity. But why Dead Sea salt specifically? Because the Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth, 1,400 feet below sea level. It sits at the border of Israel and Jordan in a region drenched in biblical history. Abraham, Lot, Moses, David, Jesus, all walked near its shores. The salt from the Dead Sea is not just mineral rich, it's geographically sacred. It comes from a place where heaven and earth, past and present, physical and spiritual, all converge. In Kabbalah, the Dead Sea represents the place of transformation. It's called dead because nothing can live in its hypersaline waters, but that death is actually a metaphor for ego death, the death of false identities, the stripping away of everything that blocks your true essence. When you carry Dead Sea salt in your pocket, you're carrying the energy of purification at the deepest level. You're saying, I release what no longer serves me. I dissolve the blocks to my prosperity. I cleanse my energy field of negativity, gossip, envy, and fear. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a real estate agent in Miami who couldn't understand why, no matter how hard she worked, deals kept falling through at the last minute. Contracts would be signed, inspections would pass, and then suddenly the buyer would back out, or financing would collapse, or some bizarre complication would arise. It happened so often that Sarah started to believe she was cursed. A friend introduced her to a Kabbalist who told her something shocking. You're carrying other people's negative energy. Every time you show a house, you absorb the doubt, the fear, the skepticism of the buyers. And because you don't have a purification practice, that energy stays with you and sabotages your success. He told her to start carrying 7 grains of Dead Sea salt in her right pocket and to replace them every 7 days. Sarah did it. And within 2 weeks, she closed a deal she'd been chasing for 6 months. Within a month, 3 more deals closed smoothly. By the end of 40 days, she'd had her best quarter in 5 years. Sarah didn't change her sales technique. She didn't work longer hours. She purified her energy field and everything shifted. Now, why 7 grains? Because, again, 7 is the number of completion, but also because in Kabbalistic numerology, 7 corresponds to Malkut, the Sefirah of manifestation, the place where spiritual energy becomes physical reality. When you carry 7 grains of salt, you're grounding the purification process into your material life. You're not just spiritually clean, you're energetically clear in the realm of money, relationships, and opportunity. Here's how you prepare the salt. Get Dead Sea salt. You can order it online. It's inexpensive. Count out exactly 7 grains. Place them in a small piece of white cloth or a tiny pouch. White represents purity, innocence, and the blank canvas of new beginnings. Tie the pouch closed and place it in your right pocket alongside the 7 coins. You now have circulation and purification working together. And here's something most teachers won't tell you. The salt also protects you from the evil eye. In Jewish tradition, the evil eye, called ayin hara, is the harm caused by jealousy, envy, or negative attention. When you start attracting more money, more success, more opportunities, people notice. Some people celebrate you, others resent you. That resentment can create energetic interference, blocking your flow. Salt neutralizes it. It creates a shield around your energy field so that other people's negativity can't penetrate. This is why, in traditional Jewish homes, you'll often see a bowl of salt near the entrance. It's not decoration, it's protection. It absorbs negativity before it enters the home. When you carry it in your pocket, you become a walking sanctuary. Wherever you go, you're protected. Wherever you go, you're purified. Wherever you go, you're aligned. Type in the comments, I am purified and protected. Because now we're going to move to the third object. And this is the one that seals the entire ritual. This is the one that gives you spiritual authority to command prosperity. But before we get there, I want to pause for just a moment. If you're finding yourself fascinated by these principles, if you're starting to see how deeply Jewish wisdom understands the connection between spiritual practice and material abundance, then you need to see the complete picture. The pocket ritual we're discussing today is powerful, but it's one of 15 core wealth codes that the Jewish people have preserved for millennia. Things like the principle of Maser, the Shabbat prosperity cycle, the Hebrew letter meditations for financial breakthrough, the power of first fruits, and so many more strategies that have created generational wealth in Jewish families for thousands of years. I've documented all 15 of these codes in a guide that's available to you right now. Check the first pinned comment for 15 Jewish wealth codes, enrichment strategies of the Jewish people. It's there waiting for you, and honestly, if this video resonates with you, that guide will transform how you think about money forever. Grab it when we're done here. Now, let's talk about the third object, because this is where everything comes together. The third object you place in your right pocket is a small piece of paper with the Hebrew letter Shin written on it. The letter Shin, it looks like a 3-pronged crown or a flame, and it is one of the most powerful symbols in all of Jewish mysticism. Why? Because Shin stands for Shaddai, one of the names of God. Shaddai means Almighty, but in Kabbalistic interpretation, it also means the one who says enough. In other words, the God who sets boundaries, who brings abundance to fullness, who says, you shall have enough, you shall not lack. When you carry the letter Shin, you are carrying the name of God. You are reminding yourself every moment of every day that you are not operating alone. You are backed by infinite power, You are a vessel for divine will. In Jewish homes, you'll see the letter Shin on the outside of the mezuzah case, the small box affixed to the doorpost. Inside the mezuzah is a scroll containing the Shema prayer, the central declaration of Jewish faith. But on the outside, visible to all, is the Shin announcing, this home is protected by Shaddai. This home is under divine authority. This threshold is sacred. When you carry the Shin in your right pocket, you're making your body a mezuzah. You are declaring, my life is a sacred threshold. My actions are under divine authority. I walk in alignment with the source of all abundance. Let me tell you about David. David was a software engineer in Seattle who had a comfortable job but felt completely stuck. No promotions, no raises, no new opportunities. He felt invisible. One day, his Jewish colleague told him about the Shin ritual and explained that in Kabbalah, the letter Shin also represents fire, the fire of transformation, the fire of passion, the fire of the divine spark within every human soul. David wasn't religious, but something about that resonated with him. He wrote the letter Shin on a small piece of paper with a black Sharpie, folded it into a triangle 3 times, because 3 is the number of balance and harmony in Kabbalah, and placed it in his right pocket with the 7 coins and the 7 grains of salt. Within 1 week, his manager pulled him aside and asked if he'd be interested in leading a new project. Within 3 weeks, he was offered a promotion. Within 40 days, his salary had increased by 30%, and he'd been invited to speak at an industry conference. David didn't suddenly become smarter or more skilled. What changed was his inner posture. He went from feeling invisible to feeling seen. He went from feeling powerless to feeling backed by something greater than himself. And it all started with a piece of paper and a Hebrew letter. Now, how do you prepare the Shin? You can print it out, but I recommend writing it by hand. Why? Because in Kabbalah, the act of writing sacred letters is itself a form of meditation and intention setting. When you write the Shin with your own hand, you're imprinting it into your consciousness. Use a black pen or marker. Black represents the hidden, the infinite, the depth of divine mystery. Write the letter on a small piece of white paper about the size of a business card. Fold it 3 times into a triangle, and place it in your right pocket. Some of you might be thinking, but I'm not Jewish. Is it okay for me to carry a Hebrew letter? Is it respectful? Let me answer that. Kabbalah teaches that the Hebrew letters are not the property of one people. They are the building blocks of creation itself. Before the world was spoken into existence, the letters existed. When you carry the Shin, you're not appropriating Jewish culture. You're accessing universal spiritual technology that happens to be preserved in Jewish tradition. It's like using the principles of yoga or meditation. The wisdom transcends its origin. But here's the protocol. Treat it with respect. Don't throw the paper away carelessly at the end of the 40 days. Burn it, bury it, or place it in flowing water, returning it to the elements with gratitude. Honor the symbol, and the symbol will honor you. Now, let's talk about how all 3 objects work together, because this is where the magic really happens. You now have 7 coins in blue cloth, representing circulation and the flow of divine abundance. You have 7 grains of Dead Sea salt in white cloth, representing purification and protection from negativity. You have the letter Shin folded into a triangle, representing divine identity and manifestation authority. Together, these 3 objects create what Kabbalah calls a tikkun, a spiritual repair, a correction, a realignment of energy. Here's how it works. The coins activate your capacity to give and receive. They break the scarcity mindset that says, there's not enough. They train your nervous system to recognize that money is always moving, always available, always seeking channels to flow through. The salt clears the blocks. It dissolves the fear, the shame, the guilt, the stories you've been carrying about money. It protects you from external negativity, the people who don't want you to succeed, the culture that tells you prosperity is selfish, the internalized voices that say you're not worthy. The Shin anchors your identity. It reminds you constantly that you are not small, you are not insignificant. You are a vessel for divine will, and when you align with that will, everything becomes possible. This is not magical thinking. This is spiritual engineering. You are literally rewiring your subconscious mind by surrounding yourself with symbols that reinforce the reality you want to create. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new pathways based on repeated stimuli. Kabbalah calls it kavana, the power of intention to shape reality. It's the same principle expressed in different languages. Now, I need to talk about timing, because when you start this ritual matters as much as what you carry. You begin this ritual on a Thursday night after sunset. Why Thursday? Because in Kabbalistic astrology, Thursday is governed by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, generosity, and good fortune. In Hebrew, Thursday is called Yom Chamishi, the 5th day, and 5 represents grace, kindness, and divine favor. Thursday is also the day the Torah was given on Mount Sinai, making it a day of revelation and alignment with divine will. After sunset is important because in Jewish tradition, the day begins at night. Shabbat begins Friday at sunset, not Saturday morning. The Torah begins with, and there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Night comes first because creation emerges from darkness into light. When you start your ritual at night, you're honoring that principle. You're saying, I'm willing to walk through the unknown. I trust that light will follow. Here's the step-by-step process. On Thursday evening, after sunset, gather your materials: 7 coins, a small piece of blue cloth, 7 grains of dead sea salt, a small piece of white cloth, a piece of white paper, and a black pen. Sit in a quiet space. Light a candle if you have one. Take 3 deep breaths. Say out loud, or silently if you prefer, I'm aligning myself with the flow of divine abundance. I release all blocks. I open myself to receive. I dedicate this ritual to the highest good. Write the letter Shin on the white paper. As you write it, visualize it glowing with golden light. Fold it 3 times into a triangle. Wrap the 7 coins in the blue cloth. As you wrap them, say, I'm a channel for prosperity. Money flows to me and through me. Wrap the 7 grains of salt in the white cloth. As you wrap them, say, I am purified and protected. I release all negativity. Place all 3 objects in your right pocket. Feel the weight of them against your body. Say, my right pocket is my prosperity gate. I activate it now. And then simply go about your life. Carry these objects with you every day for 40 days. Now, here's what you can expect to happen, because this is not instant. This is a process. Days 1 through 7. Mental shift. In the first week, you probably won't see external changes yet. What you'll notice is internal. You'll feel lighter. You'll catch yourself thinking differently about money. Instead of dread or anxiety, you might feel curiosity or even excitement. You might notice opportunities you would have ignored before. This is your subconscious mind beginning to rewire. Days 7 through 14, small money appears. In the second week, small amounts of money start showing up. A refund you forgot about, a friend paying back a small debt, a discount or a coupon, a stranger buying you coffee. These are not coincidences, these are confirmations. The universe is saying, you're on the right track. Days 14 through 30, bigger opportunities emerge. By the 3rd and 4th weeks, larger opportunities begin to appear. A job offer, a client inquiry, a side project, an unexpected bonus, a raise, an idea for a new income stream. This is the circulation beginning to accelerate. You're not forcing it, you're allowing it. Day 30 through 40, pattern shift stabilizes. In the final 10 days, something deeper happens. The pattern stabilizes. Money doesn't just come, it starts to stay. You find yourself managing it differently, spending it more wisely, saving without effort. You start to embody the identity of someone who attracts and retains prosperity. This is the goal. Not a one-time windfall, but a permanent upgrade in your relationship with abundance. At the end of the 40 days, you remove the objects from your pocket. You donate the coins to charity or give them to someone in need. You release the salt into flowing water or bury it in soil, returning it to the earth. You burn the paper with the Shin, or you bury it with gratitude. And then, if you want, you can start a new cycle. Many people do. They find that the 40-day ritual becomes a practice they return to whenever they feel stuck or disconnected from flow. But here's the critical part. You must complete the full 40 days. If you take the objects out of your pocket before the cycle is complete, you break the circuit. The energy doesn't have time to integrate. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up every few days to check if it's growing. You have to trust the process. You have to commit. Now, before we close, I need to warn you about the 3 biggest mistakes people make with this ritual. Because if you make these mistakes, the ritual won't work. Mistake number 1, using the left pocket. Some people hear about this ritual and think, well, I'll just put them in whichever pocket is convenient. No, it must be the right pocket. The right side is the gate of giving and manifestation. The left side is the gate of receiving and protection. If you put the objects in the left pocket, you reverse the energy flow. You'll end up feeling blocked, stuck, or even drained. Right pocket only. Mistake number 2, removing the objects before 40 days. I've had people tell me, I tried it for 2 weeks and nothing happened, so I stopped. 2 weeks is not enough time. 40 days is the biblical cycle of transformation. If you stop early, you're like someone who starts a diet, quits after a week, and then says diets don't work. You didn't give it time. Commit to the full 40 days or don't start at all. Mistake number 3, not donating the coins afterward. This is the mistake that costs people the most. At the end of the 40 days, you must give the coins away. If you keep them or spend them on yourself, you stop the flow. You become a dam instead of a channel. The whole point of the ritual is to embody the principle of circulation. Receive and give and receive. When you donate the coins, you complete the circuit, and the universe rewards you by sending even more. This is the law of tzedakah, and it's non-negotiable. Avoid these 3 mistakes, and the ritual will work. I've seen it work for hundreds of people. Maria, James, Sarah, David, they're real people with real results. And you can be next. Let me share 3 more stories because I want you to understand that this works across cultures, backgrounds, and circumstances. Rebecca was a school teacher in Austin, Texas, drowning in credit card debt. She'd been making minimum payments for years, and the balance never seemed to go down. She felt trapped, hopeless, ashamed. A friend told her about the 3-object ritual, and though Rebecca wasn't Jewish, she decided to try it. She started on a Thursday night in March. She carried the 7 coins, the 7 grains of Dead Sea salt, and the letter Shin in her right pocket for 40 days. Within 2 weeks, her parents surprised her with a check for $2,000 as an early birthday gift. Within a month, she received a notice that one of her credit cards had mistakenly overcharged her for 2 years, and they were refunding $3,200. By day 40, she'd received a total of $8,200 in unexpected money, and she paid off her debt completely. Rebecca didn't attribute it to luck. She said, "I felt different. I felt like I deserved to be free of debt." And once I believed that, the money came. Marcus was a marketing manager in Chicago who'd been laid off during the pandemic. 18 months later, he was still unemployed, sending out hundreds of resumes with no responses. He was depressed, broke, and ready to give up. His cousin, who practiced Kabbalah, taught him the 3-object ritual. Marcus started it on a Thursday in November. Within 1 week, he got a call from a recruiter. Within 3 weeks, he had 2 interviews. By day 35, he received a job offer with a salary of $65,000, more than he'd been making before. Marcus said, "I don't know if it was the ritual or just timing, but I do know that something shifted in me. I stopped feeling desperate and I started feeling confident. And that confidence changed how I showed up in interviews." Linda was a nurse in Portland who hadn't spoken to her father in over a decade due to family conflict. She had no expectation of ever reconciling or receiving anything from him. She started the 3-object ritual on a whim, mostly because she was curious. On day 23, she received a letter from a lawyer. Her father had passed away 6 months earlier, and in his will, he'd left her $53,000. Linda was shocked, heartbroken, and overwhelmed. She said, "I don't know if the ritual caused this, but the timing was eerie. And the money allowed me to finally go back to school and become a nurse practitioner, which I'd been dreaming about for years." These stories are not anomalies. They're examples of what happens when you align your energy with the principles of circulation, purification, and divine identity. I want to close with this. Your body is a temple. Your home is a sanctuary. And your right pocket is an altar. When you treat it as such, when you fill it with sacred intention, when you carry symbols of divine abundance, you transform your entire life from the inside out. This is not about religion. This is about alignment. This is about recognizing that the universe operates according to laws, spiritual laws, energetic laws, psychological laws, and when you align with those laws, everything becomes easier. The 3 objects, 7 coins, 7 grains of Dead Sea salt, and the Hebrew letter Shin, cost you less than $5 to acquire. The ritual takes less than 10 minutes to set up, and the results can change your life forever. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, type in the comments, "I'm ready to activate my prosperity gate." Declare it publicly. Let the universe hear you. Second, if this resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel because I'll be sharing part 2 next week. The specific blessing you say when you put the objects in your pocket, the Hebrew words that amplify the ritual tenfold, and how to troubleshoot if nothing seems to be happening. Third, and this is crucial, if you're serious about mastering Jewish wealth wisdom, don't stop here. What you've learned today is 1 ritual, 1 code, 1 key, but there are 14 more keys waiting for you in my comprehensive guide. 15 Jewish wealth codes, enrichment strategies of the Jewish people. It's in the first pinned comment right now. This guide includes the Maser money magnet, the Shabbat prosperity secret, protection rituals for your home and business, Hebrew affirmations for financial breakthrough, the forbidden colors and objects that block wealth, and step-by-step instructions for each practice. If you want the complete system, not just one piece of it, click that pinned comment and get the guide now. It's the roadmap that ties everything together. Fourth, share this video with one person who needs it, someone who's struggling financially, someone who's lost hope, someone who needs to remember that they are not alone, they are not forgotten, and they are deeply, infinitely worthy of abundance. And finally, try the ritual. Start tonight, Thursday after sunset. Commit to 40 days, and then come back here and tell me what happened. I read every comment. I celebrate every victory. And I'm here to support you through the process. Your ancestors carried these teachings for thousands of years so that you could access them today. Don't let their wisdom go to waste. Activate your prosperity gate. Become a channel for divine abundance. And watch as money stops running from you and starts chasing you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this process. And thank you for choosing transformation over resignation. Type your affirmation one more time. My right pocket is my prosperity gate. I'm a channel for abundance. I'm purified, protected, and aligned. I'll see you in part 2. Until then, may your pockets be full, your heart be light, and your path be blessed. Shalom, peace, prosperity. Amen.